Viewers, welcome, and we're going to go over a little bit of the technical information on the filter minder that you're going to see installed on my Ford Edge and another 2011 Ford Edge. And one thing that I want to start in a staged way is to describe what the filter minder does, and I got some information from Jose Amador, the engineer at Filter Minder. And he related a lot of different things about the filter minder to me. We just didn't have time to get together to really clarify everything and go over it. But basically, there's an optimal vacuum level that the filter minder does monitor when the system is running. And essentially, this filter minder is placed after the filter of the air box and before the air intake. And what it does is it measures this vacuum level, which is very minute. It is not a great vacuum that is there, so this is a very sensitive instrument. And basically the one that was installed in mine is a 10-inch H2O. And I'll explain what a 10-inch H2O is in just a minute. But basically it will run your filter and will determine your filter needing to be changed between 40 to 60,000 miles on the average in normal city driving. It will change, of course, if you're in a very dusty, dirty environment. But what this filter minder does is helps you extend the life of your filter by not changing them as much. And of course, there are some other side benefits to having a filter minder on your Ford Edge. And of course we will cover what those benefits are. Now this filter minder that is installed, like I said, is a 10-inch H2O, and it is set to measure your airflow and basically tell you when to change it at an 80% level. And this is before you start losing fuel economy and power and everything else that goes with that. So this is very important to understand that at 80% it is essentially telling you change the filter. At 50%, it's warning you that you are getting to the point that you need to change it. Some other things that happen, I mean, we all go with this scenario. You go to the Jiffy Lube, I'm just picking a name, but you go to these quick oil change places, and the first thing they do is they pop your air filter out. And they say, oh no, it looks dirty. And then they try to sell you a $20, $25 filter that's, of course, pretty marked up. But that's the sales thing that they do. But just keep in mind, the filter minder I have installed is like what, $25 or so. Just think of this: if you go there, change your filter every time you change the oil, say every 6,000 miles, you end up spending $150 over that time frame. The filter would only have to be changed once in that 60,000 miles. So therefore, you save that money every 6,000 miles, say $150. It's paid for itself, okay? And I can attest that I have a filter in my car that has 60,000 miles on it just about, and it is still good. So you don't change your filters often and you save money, because how many times have you changed your filter because it looked dirty? Now a little bit more information on our filters. As a filter gets dirty, it puts cleaner air in the engine. Imagine that. Cleaner air. Everybody says, oh, I put a new filter in because I want clean air. Here's the thing. The openings, although they may be microscopic in nature to the human eye, the openings are very large. Therefore, the smaller particulates will get into your engine, sucked into your engine, and down into your cylinders and everything else. Okay? So, as a filter starts filling up with particulates, openings start getting smaller, and a dirty filter ultimately, before it gets to that 80% load, cleans the air better. Therefore, you've got actually cleaner air entering your engine, and then we don't have as much solids going into the oil and thus going into the oil filter. It's all big internal cycle for the engine, folks. So the air filter is actually performing better when it's, say, 50% dirty. It is actually cleaning the air better when it enters the engine. Now the filter minder does take the guesswork out of knowing when to change your filter. You can't look at the filter and tell if it's dirty, folks. You can't. You just can't. So when you go to the Jiffy Lube and they say, hey, look, it's dirty. Again, is it dirty? The filter minder will tell you scientifically if it is dirty. Okay? Takes the guesswork out of it. The 10-inch H2O filter minder that I have installed on both of my edges will work for a vast majority of the vehicles on the road. Now the Ford Edge, it will work ideally for the 3.5, the 3.7, the 2.0 turbo, and the 2.7 turbo will all work on this same exact filter minder at a 10-inch H2O. Now the turbos, especially the 2.7 twin turbo, may alter the 80% load a little bit because of the higher volume that will affect it. But overall, all the engines will be able to run on this 10-inch H2O filter minder. So that being said, your filter minder will work in the turbos just as it will with the 3.5 Duratec NA naturally aspirated engine. So we can go ahead and install these on there and of course utilize them in order to take and monitor our air filters. Now in order to determine if you wanted to go up to say a 12-inch H2O or even up to the 25-inch H2O gauges, those of course are your heavier duty vehicles, trucks, semis, heavy duty off-road vehicles and things like that. Generally you want to stick with the 10-inch H2O. But as far as the gauges go on the filter minders, if you do have a truck or something heavier duty, there is a filter minder for those too. And of course, as they do change, a brand new broken engine will have a different air demand than one that has 100,000 miles on it. Again, the 10-inch H2O filter minder will be the ideal one that you will want to use. But again, turbos will not generally affect how the filter minder behaves because after all, it is going on the actual vacuum of the airflow through your intake. Now, when we talk about inches of water and inches of mercury, now inches of water is the most common measurement in this theory of evaluation and measurement of your vacuum. If you have some real extreme high vacuums, inches of mercury would be, of course, utilized for that. There is no way that they can compare PSI. PSI is a measure of pressure, and of course, inches of water is a better measurement of vacuum. So that's why inches of water is the selected way to do this, and it does assist in determining what level we're at. Now, in case you were curious as to what 1 psi equals to inches of water in vacuum, the document I have here says 27.68 inches of water is 1 psi. Okay, so what we're going to do is say the filter minder 10-inch H2O will pop to 80% at a 0.4 psi. Okay, just so you know in your mind what psi this is at. It's not very much. It's a very small unit of measurement in order to trip your filter minder into the 80% range, let's say. So it doesn't take much vacuum, and again, we don't want the engine to work hard and suck air, so it measures that very minute amount in inches of water to determine when the filter is actually dirty and needing to be changed. Again, that is the abbreviated version of the filter minders that I am using in my Ford Edge, and I am using it in both of them. I got the lower profile one in my wife's 2011, and I have the higher profile one in my 2011. As you did see here later in the video, it did pop to 50%. Because I have had that filter in there for about 50,000 miles or so. So it is starting to end up to the point that I'm waiting for it to hit 80%. Once it does, folks, I will show you what an 80% dirty AEM dry air filter looks like, based on a vacuum that is tested and scientifically proven on the filter. Okay, so you will know what a true dirty filter looks like, but I'll compare it to a clean one. Can we tell, or are we being ripped off at the quick lube places? But that being said, I want you to go ahead and follow along with me as I go to the Donaldson Corporation and the makers of the filter minder, and the engineer Jose will install a filter minder in not only my edge but another edge also. So you'll see two Ford Edges getting filter minders installed, and he of course will address some of the information himself, and he was very helpful in doing this, and I think he is a great overall guy too. So I really do want to roll the footage on this so you can all see what the installation is like and how simple it is. Alright folks, you see we got Donaldson Corporation here, and I am here to have my filter minder installed on my Ford Edge. So we're going to go ahead and pull into the drive here, so follow along with me as I get up in position there to get a filter minder installed on my Ford Edge. Just go around here to the garage. This is where they manufacture the filter minders for all makes, models of engines, General Motors, Dodge, International, semi trucks, everybody. They make them for every engine. So we're going to go ahead and pull in here and get it taken care of. But it looks like I'm going to be in line to get it done. So I'm going to sit off to the side here and wait until they are finished with the install on that one. Alright folks, we're going to put a filter minder on a 2011 Ford Edge. We're going to go ahead and release this air intake a little bit. Already disconnect the MAF sensor. And as you can see, this one has all the OEM stuff on it. And then just pop this off of here. Pull on it real hard. There you go. And then, right there where he wiped it off is where they're going to install it, because if you look on the other side, right there you got plenty of clean space to install that filter minder. Yeah.
Is it?
And they're using a step drill to drill the hole. Real clean, real simple, exactly how I did it. What I did is I flipped it over and cleaned it up by drilling back through the other side. Just touching it. Clean that out. And as you guys can see, this will be a different style filter minder than what I installed. I installed the low profile onto this one, but this one is going to stick up just a little bit higher. You guys have the low profile ones?
We don't have the right calibration right now.
Oh, okay. And then we go ahead and we put this on here, as you can see. And that is how it's going to look sitting on the Ford Edge. Pretty nifty. Get it mounted right back up in there. Yeah, see, it doesn't sit any higher than that air box right there, the resonator. Don't forget to plug the MAF sensor in, she'll come back complaining. It's very obvious when it ain't plugged in. So that's it. As you can see, it is not any higher than anything else that we have on here, and will not hit the hood or anything like that because of the resonator. So all the clearance is there that you need on it. Definitely clears, good to go. All right, so state your name, please.
My name's Jose Amador.
And Jose, how is this going to help her with her Ford Edge on the...
Well, this is actually going to help quite a bit. What it's going to allow her to do is when she takes it in for service, she's going to be able to say, look, you know, we know that our restriction isn't high enough to have to change this filter, so it's going to save her cost in the end, because we all know that they're always trying to get you to change your filter before you need it, just because it's a little bit dirty. And the nice thing about it is, theoretically, a plugged filter, to some degree, is better than a dry filter. It's actually going to filter more media than your standard filter off the shelf. So it's actually going to help you in the long run. And up until about 80% plugged, loaded, it's not actually going to hurt your fuel economy.
Okay. And when this thing does, you know, start getting up to that point, then of course it changes in its display for green to yellow to red.
Yep, absolutely. And it tells you, see if we look at the graduation here, it tells you too. So 50% is right at the right here on this green, and then 80% is your red line. So that's when it'll actually lock and tell you that you're getting close to needing to change.
So that tries to tell you to change your air filter before you start losing gas mileage. Okay. Yep. And then how would this be a benefit to these new engines? Like the Ford Edge has the 2-liter twin turbo and the 2.7. They probably demand even more air, right?
Absolutely. So it definitely gives you that range that you need to be in, so it's going to give you that sweet spot. So, I mean, it's going to help your fuel economy, keep those turbos running like they need to be. Because you don't want too much in there, too much restriction, because you're going to bog down your turbos, and we all know that that's a pain in the butt.
And this would definitely be a good visual to say, hey, I'm getting in there, so it's time to change the air filter, otherwise I'm going to lose turbo boost.
Yep, and that's another thing is, you know, those brand new filters don't filter as well because they have more airflow going in. So you definitely don't want dirt in your turbo. So the longer you can prolong the change.
Got a question though on the K&N filters, the oil filters. How does that affect the filter minder?
Well, being that this doesn't actually pull any air into the filter or into the reader, the gauge itself, it's not going to affect it at all. I will tell you though that on those new turbos they pull a whole lot of air, so I wouldn't recommend those K&N filters with the wet lube.
Okay, so like I have the AEM dry filter.
That would be sufficient.
That would be the best way to go on that. Okay, so you can wash them out and reuse them.
Yep.
And what's the average air filter lifespan using this system?
Well, it's really going to depend on your driving environment. The more dusty roads you're on, obviously, the more you're going to have to change it. Typically 50,000 miles, probably, depending on normal driving. In town, depending on your dirt.
So we can nix-say the Jiffy Lube pressure cell then.
Yeah, every 20,000 miles, guys.
Okay, well thank you, and of course we'll see you on YouTube, and you can see us, right?
All right.
All right. We're going to go ahead and work on Lulu Bell here, as we kindly call her.
You can give the engineering.
And of course, you guys know that I already have one on here, but we're going to install a different brand than what you saw. So again, we did that Ford Edge that was earlier, it was a 2011, and now we're doing my 2011. So they had practice, so they should be able to put this thing on in like seconds, since they've been able to do 2 of them. It probably was. Yeah, that is. I think I broke it earlier somewhere.
It's just an alignment gauge. Anyway.
I've had that thing apart so many times.
Nice thing too with this particular mounting installation, if you wanted to switch to the low pro,
Where do we get that in
we
there?
could
Oh,
still
he
be-
found the hole right there in the sweet spot, and so you got a little lower position on it. So that'll give us a little lower mounting position on it. And there we go. Talk about a sweet job. Again, folks, you saw that air filter there. That thing hasn't been out for 50,000 miles. That's the most daylight it's seen in a long time. And again, we're all set. Everything's, of course, hooked back up. And again, we'll motor down the road, and I guarantee you I will probably set this thing off into the yellow as soon as I get on the interstate, because I'm already probably 50% restricted. It popped in the yellow on my low profile already.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so this one will probably pop.
We'll go ahead and
Do the
start it up, and
restriction.
we'll see
Okay.
just how much idle is. You're good just sitting here.
Might be when I'm wide open, the throttle isn't on. There we go. We're set. We'll see if it pops on the way home today. But that's it, folks. MACT. Have a great day. Just a follow-up to show you all the consistency of the filter minder, no matter the brand as far as the model type or anything else. This is a trip down to the 50% mark, just driving back from Waterloo, Iowa to Davenport. The other one was tripped to 50%, and this one has tripped to 50% in the drive back. So all in all, it's being consistent and functioning properly. And I was waiting to see if it would do this, and sure enough, it did. So that tells you it is measuring the flow, folks. So good little device to tell you where your air filter status is and exactly when you're going to need to change that air filter. By all means, go over here to Facebook and of course join that, and get online and talk and discuss things with us, and of course join that YouTube channel, and of course see these videos far more often. And with that being said, my feet hit the floor today, and I'm having a great day, and I want you to have a great day too. And Mercy Girl is going to toss you a couple one-liners and a little bit of this after the video music that I know you all love. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching my videos. Remember to like and subscribe. Car repair is fun. This is a Mercy Girl production. A both feet video.